Hello everyone, welcome back. This episode of Bitcoin Trade, some news updates. I guess most of you may or may not have heard, but um, looks like FEC approves Bitcoin in-kind donation for U.S. political campaigns, which is good. I talked about this in my previous episode about PACs and how people can now donate with their bitcoins. It's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to affect the political climate here in America. If you all want to see it, there's a link here. I think wherever the link is. Here it is, right here. This link will take you to here, and it's pretty much the same from what I read. Highly recommend people read it and try to understand what you're reading. And it's pretty much the same. Some things were not decided because they couldn't come up with unanimous four-vote decision. The difference between the last draft and this draft is they got these forms here in which, for donations. So they got donations. And then they also have forms for people who are known buyers, and it's kind of interesting if they are a known purchaser when you do your Bitcoin investment under a PAC, that's not considered a trade really or an investment. It's more known as a contribution. But if it's an unknown, and there it is, Bitcoin sold to unknown purchaser, appreciated value. Well, I don't know what I don't know what. Oh, excuse me, the dogs are barking. Be quiet, dogs. But you can trade. And it's pretty broad in terms. They say in a high volume trade. I don't know what exactly that means. More than 10 bitcoins, or I don't know. They say high volume trade, and let me see if I can get here to what would be considered a high volume exchange. Let me see here. I'll have to type it in. Okay, there it is. So I'm just taking to Bitcoin charts, but I'm not going to look at that. I'm looking at the markets here. I want to look at markets in particular. So here. So when they say high volume exchange, which one? Which one are they talking about? There's like many of them. And, it doesn't give a number, just say high volume. And for me, any of these are really high volume. Anything with the US dollar is high volume. I mean, if you look at if you look at it just in US dollar terms, that's a lot of money. I don't care if it's, comparative to any currency or stock, but if you look just in the world of, Bitcoin in particular, you just look at all these. I mean, anything US dollar, you probably wouldn't be using this or this, but matter of fact, I'll click on, let me see, US dollar. It gives you an option here for the currency in particular. Here it is. So here's US dollar. I'll just click on that. And then here it is. This is public. You don't have to pay. So this is easy to find. When they say publish, I'm not sure if they mean on the internet or on some magazine, but who doesn't have access to the internet? I don't know. Then again, who has access to newspapers? I haven't read a newspaper in a while. But here you go. Here's some US dollar exchanges. And I would consider all of these, if not all, high volume just because if you look at the, you know, U.S. dollar amount, there we go, let's focus. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. These are all, I would consider, high volume exchange for the most part, except for the black one. I wouldn't consider that very high volume. But if you just look, the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, if you just look at the top 10, I would consider all of these a top volume, high volume trade. So I guess you can choose, you know, how you want to, which volume of trade, at what price, at what market price that you can pick, and even then, it just says on a high volume exchange, and that it's available for the public to see. So it's easily available for the public to see. So anybody can go online, put the link in, and then you can, you know, see the price. So there you go. Very interesting. And so how does that? Let me just go back to this. So here's the form you have to fill out if you do, like, if someone actually buys something from you, and I guess they're giving you an example. And you know, ABC Bitcoin Exchange Incorporated, they want to know the mailing address, city, state, and all that zip. And so there is some, and they're kind of giving you like amount each recipient this period in dollars. So this isn't bound by the $100 donation. This is an actual investment. So you can kind of see. What I don't understand is this part down here, which doesn't make any sense. Full name, because it says here Bitcoin sold to unknown purchaser, but yet they have this filled out like as if you can fill it out. But really, this portion's more like I don't know if they want us to put. That's the weird thing. Do they actually want us to put something like this? John Contributor, 123 First Street, Alexandria, Virginia. Name of employer, First Bank. Occupation, teller. Is that what we're supposed to use? I'm not sure. This is something my tax preparer is going to have to figure out. So, anyways, so there's some more information, different schedule, itemized deductions, all this stuff. My tax preparer is going to have fun with this. So that's the only difference between the last draft and this draft, is they're going to give you some forms to more or less to look at. And so basically you still make contributions to a pack. It has to be $100, and even minus the fees, so it has to be total $100, and whatever you get less out of the fees of the processing, you know, it's just $100. So that's kind of how this one here, receive contributions for Bitcoins, and then this is what you have to fill out, versus when you do a trade. Let me see, trade sold to known purchaser, and you got to be careful because this would be considered a contribution to a known purchaser. Then if you did if I read it right, if someone was sold to unknown purchaser, and of course I don't see how this part would apply if you don't know the purchaser. But anyways, there are forms to fill out. So this is the trading portion of the form, the investment portion, these two. So there's a known purchaser and an unknown purchaser. And then this is the campaign contribution portion, receiving contributions of Bitcoin, page 2 of 2, itemized disbursements. And here's some other one, itemized receipt, receiving contributions of Bitcoin. So, you know, some guidelines, some memorandum here in which, you know, read it. It's let me see how many pages it is total, just to give you an idea of all the reading that I had to do to understand this. So it's about 20 pages. 20 pages of mostly stuff that was in the previous draft. Some were undecided, some were decided. So the two things that were decided was, yes, you can contribute as in-kind donation of your Bitcoin. They just have to, I think, 10 days convert it to the campaign depository, I believe is what they call it. And then the other part is investing in Bitcoin. You know, a PAC can invest in Bitcoin, and in order to use it in any way, they can't, I believe from what I read, you have to convert it to a legal tender, and then from there you can use that as a any way to whatever you want to do with your PAC. But all the tax rules and everything still apply to the PAC, so you still have to do all this stuff. So anyways, please read it if you're interested in doing a PAC. I'm highly interested in creating a PAC. I'm highly interested in creating a PAC on a national level, on a state level, at each state level, on a local level. I really want to push the education and put more people into, I guess, have my vote and expression exercised, and I guess that's the best way to put it. I have, of course, a benefit of doing that, but you know, again, it's kind of also within my right to exercise this. So here you go. You everybody out there, you can do this on your own. Literally, you don't have to, or you can find a PAC, and if they're in line with some of your ideas, and you can also be a member of this PAC, you can contribute to it. So there's a lot of things that can be done here. This is really going to open up a lot of things, and and then I have another news update here or something. It says U.S. government taps nonprofit to research digital currency crime. Now the U.S. government being the IRS, and the nonprofit being this company, National Cyber Forensic Training Alliance. And so I read it, and I thought this was very interesting because I had a feeling that the IRS would, once the IRS made the ruling and the deadline for your tax filing on cryptocurrency trades and all that was come past due, I had a feeling that they were going to go out there and they're going to start, you know, they're going to wait for all the returns, they're going to analyze the returns, especially for Bitcoin traders and everything, or any miners, and they're going to analyze it, and then they're going to look at everybody else's return, and they're going to come to a consensus on what's real and what's not real. And depending on how you filed and everything, you know, it's you know, they're going to come up with some kind of normal Bitcoin trade or normal activity, which I don't know what formula they're going to come up with, but anything out of that, you know, range, too low, too high, whatever, or something obviously suspicious, they're probably going to get these guys to basically, I don't know how they're doing it, but I'll take a look at the link, and this is the here's the link that basically talks about it. And so it's Internal Revenue Service sole source justification, simplified acquisition, open market. So it's been redacted, so the names and the cost estimate has been redacted. But if you read this, and I would say take time to read this because this is kind of revealing on what they're trying to do. What are they trying to do? So description of required supplies or service, okay? In particular, I'm looking at the last sentence in particular. Oh my god, I think this is one whole big sentence. Anyway, this last portion here, significant cyber criminals engage in financial crimes as well as initiatives that highlight virtual currencies and virtual currency exchangers that service criminal clientele. So I think they're going to be targeting or looking into people who are basically Bitcoin traders, people who trade or invest in Bitcoins. And of course, if you've seen the rulings, guidelines that come out, um, you know, obviously I think they're going to target Pacific, or or they're looking into. Well, the IRS isn't looking into it. This nonprofit is going to be looking into it, and this nonprofit will, since they're not a government entity or anything, I mean, they can do whatever. I would suspect this is what I'm thinking. Hire somebody outside of the government, private contractor, right? Let them basically spy on you, follow you around, hack into your computer, whatever, or even just monitor your activities, all right? And then based on what they find, all right, and also apparently they have connections to private sector, which I would assume would be banks, money transmitters, money service business. My fear is that they could be making a blacklist, and that could be possible. They could be just going around and see who is a virtual currency exchanger, which is nothing more than saying anybody who invests in Bitcoin and pays legal tender for it, anybody who also buys Bitcoin for legal tender, sells Bitcoin for legal tender, or any virtual currency for any legal tender, for whatever reason. And they also put that service as criminal activity. So what are they going to do? They're just going to scrutinize you, persecute you, surveillance. I don't know how to say it. Surveillance you. I was going to say survey you. They may do that too. So they're going to do all that, and plus they're working with probably the banking institution and any other financial institution, and basically they're just going to, for the most part, they're going to tattletale if they find something wrong, or if they know that there's something wrong, or criminal activity is being committed through financial crime, white-collar crime, etc. And so if you read down further, and it's kind of interesting, this document claims, it just claims that what is it? National Cyber Forensics and Training Alliance is their unique databases that will support OFI efforts to identify significant cyber criminals engaged in financial crime. So that just tells me they're making a blacklist. There's a possible chance that it could be making a list of people, making up a profile, and basically you're looking at a financial profile. Instead of racial profile, we're talking about financial profile. Maybe also racial profile too, So this concerns me a little bit, but at the same time, it only concerns me because I've noticed that it's getting harder and harder to work with the banks. It's getting harder and harder to work with money transmitters. It's getting harder and harder to work with money service businesses. They are, private sector, and I think they're being coerced into ending relationships with people they suspect trading Bitcoin. They are coerced into ending relationships, basically not servicing you, basically persecuting Bitcoin users for their belief in an alternative currency other than the government-backed currency. And I think this is kind of what's going on. I'm a little disappointed that, well, I'm not disappointed, but it is concerned because, last thing I want to know is that the government, which is supposed to serve me, is persecuting me, scrutinizing me for my belief in an alternative currency other than a government-backed fiat currency, which I'm forced to use. I have no choice. I have to use it. And then on top of that, because I have to use it, I am using it for my Bitcoin trading. And because of me using fiat currencies, I'm forced to use it. I'm also scrutinized and persecuted for it. So I kind of find that really ironic and strange. But if you read on, it talks about them, talks about, and for the most part, it looks like they're going to use this company, this nonprofit, to basically be the eyes, ears, nose um, of of digital currency transactions, I guess, or stuff like that, or monitoring virtual currency users, miners, investors, and basically being a rat or a snitch. That's the best way I can explain it. They're going to go around. They may even have people try to become Bitcoin users and get into a group and then, maybe even set people up. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, weird stuff that, and it's not done by the government. It's done by a private entity, right? Nonprofit corporation that has a special database, has special relations with private sector, financial private sectors. Um, you know, they don't need a subpoena or warrant. They can just go over there and just ask for stuff, right? So that concerns me a little bit. But it says here, familiarity with law enforcement and private sector cyber concerns. What else? Cooperation and hand it over to law enforcement to include the FBI. So they're talking about information. Let me see. Funnel, whatever, real-time cyber threat intelligence. So basically, it's just outsourced spying and outsource spying, outsource surveillance, outsource, let me see, covert operations, outsourced ratting. So I mean, that's just my opinion, but from what I'm reading, and thank God I can read and understand what the hell I'm reading. Let me see, a legal agreement with the government in lieu of the FBI. All right, hey, has been established authorizing only NCFTA, and this is only to one company. So they made an offer to one company, only one company. And then if you scroll down a little more, talk more stuff. It's what's been redacted is the signer's name, because if anybody, if there's, I have a feeling that this is a good idea, because if we ever found out who signed off on this, I'm sure he wouldn't have a job next year. So there'll be some people who are really pissed on this whole thing. But just to get an idea how much money they dedicated this, put into it, it's over 25,000. So it doesn't tell you how much, but at the same time, it's over 25,000. So it could be $1 million, $2 billion. It's kind of weird that they have to hire a private nonprofit in order to do these things. Isn't that the job of the FBI? I didn't know they needed help. Then again, if you really need help, feel free to watch my videos. I think my videos are very informative and educational. I hope they're really genuinely going after criminals and not legitimate Bitcoin users, not legitimate Bitcoin miners, and not legitimate Bitcoin traders. So anyways, my battery's kind of running low. I want to go over some charts. Just one more thing, I guess, and some recent things. And look at that. Right after the ruling, people are accepting Bitcoins. They're saying, yes, let's accept Bitcoins. And so you're going to see more of this. You're going to see more political campaigns accepting Bitcoins, or you're going to see more PACs, Bitcoin Pacific PACs. They're going to trade Bitcoins, they're going to take Bitcoin donations, and eventually they're going to just convert that to legal tender, to do whatever, to infinity. Donate to infinity. I'm not sure if that's... I've heard there's limits, but as far as advertising, you can advertise till the cows come home. you can do that things. You can I don't know, whatever, get the word out, get the vote out kind of campaign, whatever. So, anyways, let's go on to some charts here. Excuse me. Let's see it a little bit better like that. All right, so I was in a trade with someone on local Bitcoins, and I mentioned that I felt that there was going to be a good chance for a breakout, and there you go. A breakout has occurred. It's not, this is a 6 hour, so it's not like it looks that great, but if you go into a 15-minute, I mean, that looks pretty strong. And you can see that it's just been bouncing and bouncing right here, and just finally just broke out. And that's really good news in my opinion. Let's go back to the 6 hour. So that's really good news. This is a Bitstamp, and it's breaking out. And then this is BitC, which is a different story, but similar. And you can see it's hitting up against that line and going above this support line here. So that's good. If it breaks above this, if it can break above it, which I think there's a good chance it will, it'll break above it, and there could be a chance to go back into this range. Until that happens, I can't really say too much, but if it breaks out here, there's a good chance that it'll hit up to this, and this is BitC on 6 hour, and then that's the current price right there at 442. And then this is Bitfin right here, or let me see, Bitfin. And pretty much same thing going on, and this is the original breakout line right here, so it's already kind of broken out, and it's just following and along these channels, but you can see it's a breakout. And so if you follow the what I've been saying, just make a buy stop order and just follow the highest point and follow the highest point, and then when it hits, you have to be a little patient. It may have gone down, then you just, of course, your average buying on the way down, and then if you followed it again, followed it again, and then you experience this hit up, so you can take advantage of a breakout instead of missing out, so to speak. And this is also same for Coinbase. This is Coinbase here, and you see that it's broken out of this channel, which I think this is a channel right here. And so there's a good chance that it can reach up to this level again of 450. From there, I won't know if it's going to break out of there, based on price action movement. But it looks good. It looks like kind of what I've been talking about, being in range. And also, I think there's a lot of demand here, because what I've been saying, I've been noticing that it's getting harder and harder through legitimate means of getting your hands on some Bitcoins. Private companies, like I said, PJ Dorkin Chase, HG Wells. I have another company that I can add to the list of the dark overlords. I call them dark overlords, or I call them overlords. And there is someone controlling the overlords, and I call that person the dark overlord, or the dark emperor. All right, and that person exists. All right, and it is a real person in this world, in this physical world. There is a person in this physical world, and I'll give the pseudonym the Dark Overlord or the Dark Emperor. Okay, and the Dark Emperor is basically now making moves against the invisible hand. Now, I'm going to bring this in. Why not? I'm getting towards the end of my episode. My battery's running low. So it's getting harder and harder to get your hands on Bitcoin, and it almost seems like now you're becoming Bitcoin users, or cryptocurrency users are being persecuted for their faith and their belief in an alternative currency other than the government-backed fiat currency. And I'm noticing that. I bear witness to this as my testimony. So, take it for what it's worth. But because of that, I think you're going to see a lot of um, increase in the value, because as it becomes harder and harder, you know, it's going to become more and more valuable. The more and more, the harder and harder Bitcoins are going to, hard to get, the more and more valuable it's going to get. I mean, this is kind of what you're seeing. After the big sell-off from China and everything, and now I'm experiencing, and obviously if you've seen the IRS document, which I'll bring up here, you're getting a sense that they're starting to close in. They're starting to close in on people. Let me see here. I mean, just read it. I mean, why would they use this? Unless, I mean, for legitimate reasons, I understand they're going after probably tax evaders, and most likely tax evaders are, criminals, and criminals don't usually file tax returns, or if they do, they don't disclose all their income. So I could see this, but hopefully they're not going to try to persecute the legitimate users, miners, investors, and they're really going after, illegitimate users, illegitimate investors, illegitimate, So I hope that's their intent, and their intent is not to be so broad and general that they're trying to just crack down on everybody. Anyway, that's my message. So, but the good news is, let's go back here. We're seeing some green. Look at the green come back. And, oh, look at that, more green coming back. So, I hope you all bought some while it was red. I hope you all bought some while it was at the bottom, and it was pretty easy to get. And for a little short time, it seemed like it was very fluid. It was working well with current existing financial systems and everything, and things were moving, money was flowing again, value was being created, wealth was being created. But I think after some time, the Dark Overlord, the Dark Emperor, realized that this has got to be stopped as soon as possible. And if you haven't read the Conflict by Other Means, that was a great article. I read it. I was amazed by it. I totally agree with a lot of what's said in there. My opinion on it, and I'm going to extend on it a little bit more, is that not only is this thing going around the world, from mainly the U.S. against other nations, but now this financial war has come not to an international or global, but now it's domestic. You're seeing a civil financial war within each country, each nation, and this is kind of what you're seeing. And this is why you're seeing, let me see here. This is why you're seeing this. This is why you're seeing this. Because now the financial war has become domestic, has become a civil financial war against, believe it or not, and I know this sounds crazy, but it's become against the government and its own people. It's become this is the coming of financial wars. It's not just a nation against nation. Now it's your government against its own people. And this is going to be interesting. This is a warfare I guess never really realized, just because there was no financial institutions like there are now. And there was no Bitcoin. Now there's Bitcoin and financial institutions, and there's government, there's private, there's the government, there's the private, and then there's the people. And between those three, you're seeing a lot of conflict, financial conflict. You don't see it. It's a secret war. It's a hidden war. Unless you've been watching my videos, that would be the only way you would ever know that this kind of war is going on. So I hope that it never becomes into a full-blown war, like a real war. I can only hope that that it stays a secret financial war. Um, but if you restrict the flow of funds and you push someone back into a corner, it could result into a physical insurgency, physical civil war. Um, you see some of that in some of these other countries. Um, I'll just say it. You see it in Ukraine, right? You're seeing it in Greece, especially in Greece, maybe some portions of Italy. Um, so it's going to be interesting. This is a whole new. I'm telling you, this is a new age. This is a new world order. I can't. I can't believe I'm saying these things, but here I am. I have to tell you, this is my experience with it. So, anyways, my battery's really low. I'm sorry if I spoke too long. Let's end it off on a chart because that looks good. Let's end it on this chart because it's starting to really turn green. And when I see this, I'm buying and holding, and because I think that there's an uptrend here, a beginning of an uptrend. Finally, I'm seeing a good uptrend that's not going to break out, then go back down, break out and go back down. I'm actually seeing something that looks like an upward trajectory for some really good gains. So, anyways, feel free to comment, like, dislike, leave a comment, do a video response. Until next time, stay tuned. Bye.